At one point, on a day like any other, people could no longer open their windows, the houses could no longer be ventilated with the help of the breeze coming through the windows. A large number of cats invaded the neighborhood and took over all the doorways, as if they always lived there. They weren't very noticeable while the sun was out, but as darkness overtook the streets, they meowed as if they were forming an orchestra, they played among the bushes, and they had the terrible habit of getting into any house that would leave a window or door open. This was making people obstinate cats, but despite this nobody did anything against cats. Locking the windows was enough. With this simple measure, the collective meow and those who produced it remained on the street. Although there was always the clueless one who neglected to close the windows. These clueless invariably had to get out of their restful sleep in the middle of the night to get a cat out of their house. This was a nightmare because being wild cats, they did not come out with the ease that one could imagine. People didn't know that it was part of one of the long horror stories. This was the case for Roberto. His parents were in a terrible mood and already getting ready to sleep, they heard a noise. Of course, they shouted for the boy to take charge of getting the cat out. They did it because Roberto was the clueless one who did not close his window and a cat always entered through it. Immediately, and to avoid further complaints, Roberto looked for the author of the noise. He followed the sound and it seemed to him that he came out from under the bed of his little sister who was fast asleep. He introduced the sweeper and passed it from side to side. With this the cat was supposed to come out somewhere. This did not give any results, so he decided to pull the broom and, to his great astonishment, what he pulled out was a kind of little old man with torn clothing. He was furiously biting the sweeping brush. He immediately raised his eyes and stared at the child. He did not understand what was happening. He was just there, lying on the floor with the broom in his hands and the little man at the other end. Roberto could not stop staring at what seemed to be a goblin without realizing that it was approaching dangerously at his foot with the intention of biting him. He got to his big toe and bit down on it several times with such force that he tore his toe off. Playing with the poor boy's big toe, he climbed onto the bed with the intention of doing the same with his little sister. But at that moment, two cats that had entered through the window fell on the goblin, and between meows and shrieks, they destroyed the creature. Blood and pieces of meat jumped everywhere. With such a scandal, the parents got up and ran to the girl's room, but what they saw at first scared them a lot. From their position what they saw, it was as if a large group of felines were attacking the girl. They went to her aid and when they were close they saw that the girl was safe and sound and that the cats were attacking the sinister little man. They devoured him without a trace in a bloody attack, but prevented the girl from suffering any harm. This really was why cats were so active at night and why they entered homes. Nobody managed to find out where the little men came from, but from that day on, they took care of the rescue cats. From that moment, everyone resumed the habit of sleeping with the windows open, because if an elf entered their house, this would allow the cats to come in to help them. This is one of the stories of the long